I
if
went
any.
I went through school and was never taught anything about finances past keeping a checkbook, and I think they want to keep the masses. I think they want to keep 80% of us
Well,
dumb about
and
finances.
my thought on number one, obviously a massive shame that no one is taught about money, because well, guess what? It affects everybody in every single area of their life.
Yes.
So probably something you should learn. But here's the second thing: is like, who are they going to learn it from? The teachers in
Yeah.
there that make 35 grand a year.
So Peyton Squires, you're a CPA and also a podcast host. The name of your podcast is called Behind Their Success: Entrepreneurial Stories. Tell me a little bit about yourself and where you come from, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of we were saying there off air before we, started recording. I'm just down from the road from you, or not. I mean, I guess we're probably several hours apart.
It's
But I'm in Clem.
actually, I think it's like 3 hours.
Yeah, I've been up to training camp. I've but it's so I'm in Columbia, Missouri. I'm a CPA, CFP by trade. I run my own tax planning practice. I've lived in the tax and wealth world the vast majority of my career. But other than just considering myself an accountant, I consider myself really more of an entrepreneur in the forefront, right? Like yes, my day job is like my main business is running my tax firm, but I really love the game of business, overarching, as opposed to just, my business, which, I love my business too. But like I love talking to people about business, love working with entrepreneurs, helping them solve problems, in their businesses, right? And that's kind of what you said, the podcast, a lot of that's about. It's not really, I mean, sure, we talk about money on there, but it's not really money focused. It's more entrepreneur focused, right? Of like, hey man, tell me your story. What kind of, how many times you got punched in the face and what lessons have you learned from that, right? Because people don't realize, you see this guy, 15 years in his business and maybe he's running an $8 million business, but you know how many times he's been punched in the face to get him
Right,
to there,
right.
right?
A
It's
lot of
not
people
just
don't
this straight
realize that,
upward,
man.
right?
A lot of people think that entre so entrepreneurs hold a real special place in my heart. I believe I'm an entrepreneur at heart, but I haven't this is the closest thing I've
Yeah.
come to being an entrepreneur
Well, this
and
is this is you doing your thing.
right, right. And so a lot of people just think that business owners or successful people were born that way.
Mm.
And they don't realize the hard work, the dedication, the long hours, it's almost like raising a kid. And I can say that because I have 4 kids, but it is like raising a kid, and it's your pride and passion, and you got to be willing to be punched in the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And like it's a requirement. Like
Yeah.
the requirement to get punched in the mouth to get what you want. Like, as an entrepreneur, it's not like there's no way to avoid it. And I do like I've never really heard that as an analogy of, it's like raising a kid. Yeah, very much way it is. Like it's got to be a passion. Many days like you have your kids and they're just being butt heads or what, you know what I mean? Like it
Right,
can be
right.
really hard, right?
Hey, you can
Um
say assholes on this show, man. My kids are assholes sometimes. I get it.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
get it.
all kids are, right? All kids are. But
God love them though.
yeah, God love them. But then you look back and you realize, right, it was all worth it, right? Like,
Yeah.
all those painful days and in the entrepreneur space, I mean, there's whew, you're looking at least 5 years before you really, in my opinion, to start seeing really building anything significant.
Right. Right.
And it's not, it's amazing. I talk to a lot of different entrepreneurs, get their stories and stuff, and it's like it's just the people that didn't quit. Like they don't have super special
That's
skills or
it.
this natural talent. They developed skills, through the process,
Right.
but they weren't born with it. It was just they were willing to stand there and well, the game of podcasting, it's just outweighting everybody, right? It's
Right.
just
Right.
putting out content and content and content. And you do a good job. Eventually you'll start compounding and grow a little bit. But it's
The
the long
cream
game.
rises to the
Yeah.
top, and it is a long game, man. It is a very long game. So I've been doing this almost 2 years, and
Yeah.
I just now started making a little bit of money. It's
Hmm.
not sustaining itself yet, but
Yeah.
I always told people when I first started this thing, like even if it doesn't make money, at least I've got a pretty cool hobby, you know.
Yeah.
I've been a stay-at-home dad for like 11 years. So for me, this is not just a job for me. It's also like it's a place where I can lay out all my frustrations. It's a place where I can, well, here in the studio, man, I've made this the most friendly studio for me,
Hmm.
and it's comfortable. It smells good in here. I got a cannabis grow tent right next to me, so
There you go.
it smells real good in here, and it's very um dad friendly, I guess you could say, and it's quiet in here. And I built this whole thing for me pretty much. And a lot of entrepreneurs have that drive. I got to do
Yeah.
this for me. And
Hmm.
a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've met are they all have one thing in common. They have that hustle to them.
Hmm.
And if you don't have a hustle, man, it's pretty easy to get one. It's
Yeah. Well,
I
there's
think COVID
opportunity
taught us
everywhere.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Like you live in a like a university town,
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
mean,
so I bet
it's
there's a shit ton of
massive college. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I
I
mean,
bet
there's a
there's a shit
nice.
ton of opportunities there.
Yeah, there's a nice, in Columbia, you're right, the University of Missouri, major university. There's also, two or three like fairly good sized private schools, colleges as well. That you got Columbia College and Stevens College as well. They're significant colleges. Um, yeah, Columbia has a nice, underbelly of like entrepreneurial spirit and that kind of thing. With university, there's plus and minuses for sure. The university brings in a whole lot of interesting people into Columbia all the time, and they're kind of coming
Oh
and
yeah,
going. Very highly educated or talented or experienced people kind of come and going out of here all the time. So it really kind of adds to the spice of everything. But like, we're going back to you're talking about your studio you set up there, and it's like, yeah, you've kind of created a way to express yourself, right? Like
right.
creative. And I've, my podcast journey is the same kind of thing. I'm in my office today. I'm not kind of in my, my normal studio, but same thing. I got a home office there where it's just like set up for me. It's got all my stuff that I think is cool. There's Chief stuff in the background, just like
Yeah.
and some Mizzou stuff, and it's just my comfortable environment to really like express myself. And same here. You said you've been around for almost 2 years. Same me. I got my
Right.
hundredth episode getting released.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
That
this
100th
coming
one is a
Monday.
big one.
Yeah, it's coming this coming Monday where, I actually kind of just recorded a solo episode just talking about the lessons I've learned, right, on the
Yeah.
journey there. So it's with everything in life, man. It's one day at a time and just not quitting, right?
Yeah,
Like keep
I
keep
hear you.
stepping in the right direction, right? I mean, that's
Right.
really your only job.
It, you know, I when another one thing that pisses me off about entrepreneurs, though,
Mhm.
some entrepreneurs, they, I don't think, I don't call these people entrepreneurs myself, but they call themselves entrepreneurs. People that like get online and they
Yeah.
just buy a bunch of shit,
Yeah.
right? From China specifically, and
Yeah.
they get it here dirt cheap, and then they
Yeah.
repackage it and sell it
It's
for a
like a
profit.
Amazon wholesalers or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's a hustle. It is a
Yeah.
hustle, but I don't consider those folks entrepreneurs because there's no strategy in it other than buy as much as you
Yeah.
can and get rid of as much as you can. That's like salesperson, you know, but
Yeah. It's
entrepreneurship, I learned a lot through bankruptcy actually.
Bet you did.
Yeah,
Bet you
yeah.
did.
And I was like, man, this is how rich people get rich. And I
Yep.
kind of took that and ran with it. But yeah, I learned a lot through bankruptcy, and I learned ultimately why bankruptcy is really there.
Yeah.
And I had to file personal bankruptcy,
Sure.
and
And there's no shame in that, by the way. No.
yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of stigma attached to it. And I think the powers that be did that kind of on purpose because it's their neat little trick
They're
that they
losing.
like
Yeah,
to
and they're
use.
losing money.
Exactly, exactly. It's their nice. When I walked into the bankruptcy thing, I was so disappointed. I was embarrassed. I was so just sad, man. And
Yeah.
then after I talked to the lawyer, he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. You know, this stuff happens to the best of us." And when I walked out of there, I felt really good. And then after the bankruptcy was all over with and everything, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, listen, this is bankruptcies really do encourage risk taking.
Hmm. Yeah. It's
And
there to protect it and encourage. Yeah, absolutely.
and so without the people taking risks, this country fallen years ago by now. But
Yeah. You know,
that's what entrepreneurship means to me. It's just a collective mindset of people just out there hustling and making money, coming up with ideas, competing and stuff like that. What do you think
yeah.
is the a secret or a key to being an entrepreneur? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, yeah, I got a couple points there. You know, when you talk about, just talking about the bankruptcy thing there. Um, Once again, why I say no shame in that. I think it's definitely more than 50% of like successful entrepreneurs have filed bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And a lot of them more than once. They've lost it all more than one time. So once again, yeah, and bankruptcy is there to have a fail safe and bankruptcy, the American bankruptcy system is actually, yeah, I think it's a good one. It actually encourages risk. It encourages people to take on stuff to where it's like, well, if this doesn't work out, doesn't mean, you're going to debtor's prison or you know what I mean,
Yes.
whatever, right?
Right.
So yeah, I totally agree with that. And then you kind of made that comment about people buying cheap stuff from Amazon and kind of reselling it,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff is there's just way too much of that kind of stuff in the world today, in my opinion. It's really easy to do that kind of stuff on the internet, and what you're really doing there is like you're setting up like a sales company, and all you're
Yeah.
doing is trying to constantly come up with new sales tactics and advertising and copy to just try to get all these quick hit sales. Um,
Yeah.
and that feels really good for the entrepreneur, and you can be successful at that to a degree. The problem is you're playing a losing game there. You're not building a brand that means anything to anybody.
Right.
And you have to constantly fight that battle every day. And you're really just fighting a psychology, sales tactic, and price battle every day. And guess
Yeah.
what? That'll never end.
That's
And
right.
as opposed to building a real business, a brand that people associate, a brand that adds value to people's lives and is, trustworthy and all that kind of stuff, that's a very different path to go. And I think that path is, well, it's just way more sustainable.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I when you when you're setting up that whole sales thing, like I got friends that are doing it and no hate to them, but the entrepreneurial spirit is not there with them. I don't see any competition like, oh, I got to come up with a new thing because these people over here are making this thing and I got to make mine better. And for
Yeah.
me, that's what entrepreneurship means. Like you got to step outside the box and do stuff that you got to do the hard stuff. That's
Yeah.
first of all. And a lot of people don't understand the hard stuff is actually probably the easiest thing to do. Like each person has their own thing that they're good at, right? And
Mhm. Step
uh,
into it.
exactly, lean into what makes you you.
Yeah.
And that's essentially how I got into podcasting is because like it's one way that I can lean into me and be who I am. And I love it. I love every bit of podcasting. I like waking up and planning the next one. And people always ask, what's your favorite podcast? And I say the next one.
Yeah. See, and that's when you know you're hooked, man. That's when you know you're
Yes.
right. Because then you're not chasing any external thing or any like really any external results necessarily. Like you fall in love with the process. And if you
Right.
fall in love with the process, like, well, the results will just naturally come, right? It's
Right.
like, you hear the saying that's like, the person who loves to walk will walk way further than the person that's just walking for the destination, right? Because that
Yeah.
person will quit immediately.
The journey
Uh,
is the destination.
exactly, right. And when you go back to people like, that are trying to set up these quick, you know, they get sucked into something like, you know, and once again, there's legitimate way, you know, I'm not trashing on any people that have this business model, but like, you know, they get sucked into an ad that says, "Hey, man, you could be a drop shipper on Amazon and make $1 million in 90 days." It's a bunch of BS.
Yeah. You
It's
can make
it,
that much. You
yeah,
just got to
yeah, yeah.
work your
And I'm
ass
not
off
saying
to
that's
get
not
it.
possible, but like it's just the mere fact that you're sold this thing by as
Yeah.
like this some quick fix solution. I'm just telling you right now, it's not going to be sustainable at all.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
sell it in a way that is just not reality with what it actually takes to be successful. And that's what really bothers me.
Yeah, you know what? That reminds me of coaching. Me and my wife were talking about coaching on the podcast a while back. And so you've been in the podcasting game for a year or two. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You come across a shit ton of coaches
You know?
and none of them like okay, so I've talked to quite a few coaches on the podcast that are wonderful people, great salt of
Yeah.
the earth people,
Mhm.
and a lot of them actually should be coaching. But I've also run into a shit ton of them that have no business being a coach and are just doing it because they're making money at it.
Yeah, they think they
I
can make money or whatever. Yeah.
well, I talked to a guy. He's selling 1,200, selling people on the idea that he's a coach for $1,200 a pop,
Yeah.
and he's making money. And I
But he's got a
just,
lot of churn.
yes, that's the problem there, right? And
Yeah.
he's like, you should get into coaching. And I was like, I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, is this the new multi-level marketing scheme here, which is basically a pyramid scheme?
Yeah.
And it's legal. I've had to. There are legitimate ones out there, like
Oh, sure.
Cincy. Cincy's a good one. It is a pyramid scheme. It's multi-level marketing,
Hmm.
but it's a good product. That's the difference there. And I think Cincy makes 10 times more doing what they're doing as opposed to opening up like a brick and
Signing up
mortar.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I come across that all the time, like a lot of
Hell yeah.
coaches and
I mean, you know, of course, you know, when you've been in podcasts for a little bit, you actually have a, you know, an established show. Yeah, people start coming
yeah,
on the woodworks, right? Like in the beginning, like I was hustling just trying to find people to come on my show, right? And then you
yeah.
get to where it's like now I'm inundated. I have to filter through all the noise to
That's a
find somebody
big
that's yeah,
problem.
yeah,
Yeah,
huge problem.
it's a big problem to manage by yourself. And
Yeah.
it's a huge man, I complain about this a lot because I ask for help and don't get it. But um I tell my wife, my brother, my sister, my father. I tell all the people that like count on me for communication, like, hey, I've got an inbox full of shit that I have to go through. And
Yeah.
it's not everybody that I talk to, real nice people, and I can't disparage anyone for what they're doing in life. If they're making money and they're happy, good for you. It's just I have to be my authentic self, and that doesn't feel very authentic to me.
Yeah.
When I was breaking into podcasting, man, I paid probably $2,000 that I didn't have to pay to people just to find out information that should be free.
Mhm.
And it was heartbreaking to me. I was like, am I going to have the money, the finances to make this happen? And then I started just kind of breaking things down on what I actually want, what I actually need. And
Mhm.
it turns out like it's not as expensive as people think it is. And there is a wall to get through. But once you break through, start breaking through that wall, it kind of happens all at once. Like I've got people that I would have not thought of in a million years contacting me, and people getting in my inbox now that I'm very surprised and shocked by. And we're trying to plan things out, and I have to do all that by myself, and it
Yeah, it
sucks.
sucks. Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
what
see,
really sucks about it is being having to be the no guy. I don't want
yeah,
to be the
yeah,
no
you don't
guy.
like being that.
I
Yeah.
would rather be, I'd rather be the guy that's like, ah, yeah, I'll tell you, come on to my show, you know,
Hmm.
because I don't like being an asshole. I
And
do like being an asshole, but I don't like being that type of asshole, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I do the same thing. You know, I'm a very relational, social guy, and that's probably why we're both pretty good at podcasting, right? You seem very much the same, right? Like we don't like to upset people, right? And
Right.
but the problem is that tips over to people pleasing at points, you know what I mean? And that gets us
Yeah.
also in trouble, right? But yeah, I mean, you go back talking about the coaching stuff you're talking about earlier. Like, here's great advice for the listeners. Like, if they don't have what you want, do not take advice from them. If they don't like, if you want to do this in business and they haven't done that specifically, go find somebody else.
That's right. That's right. And
Right. So, yeah,
YouTube University, man, I love YouTube. YouTube's a great resource if you're trying if you can't figure out what to do or what you want to, as long as you have some sort of idea where you want to go,
yeah,
getting there is fun. It really is. And the learning process is just it's part of it, man. It's the stuff that you have to go through to get where you need to go.
yeah,
And the people that are stuck in the factories and stuck in the gas stations and the burger joints flipping burgers and shit, those are the type of people that if they just knew, or if they
yeah,
if they just had any idea where to start, those are the people that would make great entrepreneurs. And
100%.
I when you reached out to me, I was like, yeah, I would love to talk about financial literacy, because
Yeah,
Missouri is one of the least financial literate states in the union. And
yeah,
I was one of those people,
hmm,
and I didn't know shit about money. I just knew I liked to spend it,
yeah, 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 yeah,
And once you learn a little bit about money, man, it all makes sense, and you can move things around in your mind of, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to do, and then go after it.
yeah.
For me, it was that bankruptcy, man. I learned a shit ton of stuff through that bankruptcy, and when I got done with it, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to end up doing this again because I've got some stupid ideas. But
I love it.
how I got to the bankruptcy court, man, is trying to buy a house. That's
Yeah.
how I got there.
When what
And
was the time frame of this? Like what year ish?
so we just now bought our first house in January of 24.
Yeah,
So
but what was that
um
bankruptcy time frame was?
2021.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
as COVID kind of
Yeah.
ruined me, man.
Hmm.
I was in a
Wild
spot where
times.
it was wild times, but hey, it showed me that there's endless opportunities out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Endless.
Yeah.
It showed me that there are so many ways to make money that we don't need the government,
Mhm.
like the government needs us.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%, man. And it's, as a guy that, I live in Columbia now, but I didn't grow up in Columbia. I grew up in little Howard County outside of Columbia. I grew up in a town of 1,000 people, right? And in my experience, of course, anybody follows any of my stuff, my background, I had a single mom, had a dad, alcoholic, drug addict, all, and I certainly didn't have the worst childhood in the world, but people certainly had it worse than me. But like,
Yeah,
I
it
perceived
was
it,
rough. Yeah,
right? Yeah, it was real, right?
that hey, we'll get into that in here just in
Yeah,
a little bit, like the perception versus reality of living.
yeah,
Um, trauma hits people differently, and,
yeah,
and
yeah,
people
yeah. I mean,
have their
and
own
if it's real to
experiences.
you, it's real. I mean, like you
That's
still got to
right.
deal with it, right? Like, and so when you talk about money skills and whatever, like I wasn't necessarily modeled any of that, right? But my childhood of being in a single mom was that, a story burned into my brain, of like I'm like 10 years old. My mom comes home and she lost her job, and my grandma walks in the door and says, "How are you going to buy groceries?" And that was so burned into my head that what drove me from there, I never wanted to be poor. That
Yeah.
was my only motivator. And from then on through high school, college, and ultimately, CPA, all that stuff, um, was motivated purely by that. So I had this big fear that pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. Now I like to believe I'm not just motivated by fear. That fear is, that little boy is still in there, scared.
Right.
But I really tried to, my growth and my growth in my business and everything I do in my career, my life. I'm a hustler, always been a hustler. And now I try to do it out of motivation of abundance and creating opportunity for others and not just this fear motivation. Because
Right.
while that's extremely powerful, it'll burn you the hell out real quick too.
You're right. It will. It will.
And
And
but what I tell you what though, if fear is all you have right now, freaking use it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You lean
absolutely.
into it.
Use it as fuel.
Yes.
Fuel.
You just want to
Hey,
live
man,
there forever.
I tell people that all the time. If you're not happy, man, use that as fuel.
Yeah.
If you see in well, the current political situation right now, if that pisses you off, use that as fuel to get where you're going.
Yeah.
If you like, I was just saying about the house and how we got here to this spot and into the bankruptcy court. I was spending all my money, all my time and energy trying to figure out how to finance a house. I
Yeah.
was getting the credit score up
Yeah.
and then I got into some financial trouble. I mismanaged I'm terrible with money. I mismanage my funds all the time. And I'm pretty
Just a skill
honest
to
about
learn.
it. Yeah, I'm pretty honest about it because it might help. My story might help somebody else,
Yeah, sure.
and
Authenticity is amazing.
right. And so when I went to use these credit cards, I would use 30% and then make the payments, pay them off, and trying to get my credit score
Yeah.
up. And then next thing you know, COVID hits and we're losing money left and right. And what really killed us was the grocery store and the utility bills and all the things that the all the mundane things that you don't really think about on a daily basis. But then when you lose an income stream and then you're back down to basics, we had to make strategic decisions on,
Yeah.
do we default on this card or do we pay this card? And we were like, watching all our dreams go up in smoke because our credit was going to shit. And we got to the point where we were spending more in credit. We were spending more keeping up with credit cards than we couldn't afford to pay our utility bills or buy food. And when it got to that point, my wife was extremely unhappy, man. Extremely
Well, it's just
unhappy.
the weight of all that, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
stress
And
and weight of all
I
that.
carry it differently. I carry it a lot differently. I don't give a shit. What I
Mhm.
care about is my wife.
Yeah.
And watching her carry that weight and struggle with it, I was like, this is killing me. And I called a lawyer. And I was so afraid of bankruptcy
Yeah.
because, like you hear all kinds of negative things about it, but you never hear the real positives about it. One of the things that they say about our current president, he filed bankruptcy numerous times. Well, I'm here to tell you, a good businessman would, you know.
Yeah.
So it is you can't. It's very strategic on that end. You got to learn how to. Um, you got to learn what's important and worry about that stuff. And when we went into bankruptcy court, I didn't look at it as failing. I looked at it as a way not to win. This is just a temporary setback. We'll get back up on our feet. And less than 5 years later, we bought our own house. And it's a modest house, but I have a lot of I love this house actually, but I have a lot of things wrong with me. As
We all
far as
do.
I've got different priorities than a lot of people do.
Yeah, sure.
I don't have a shiny, fancy car and sitting in the driveway. We live in a modest home. Man, I'm just trying to be a good dad and a good person. So that's what's important to me.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
and when we walked out of the bankruptcy court, it's just that weight that lifted off, and I was able to put my attention and emotions into something else.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I, because of COVID, we had a couple side hustles that we were able to get into to start getting back up on our feet, and it worked. We
Yeah.
made My wife has a job where she was working for, uh, she was essential, and they were
Mhm.
paying her a little bit extra to work extra hours because they couldn't find people to come in. And so she picked up a little bit of extra there. We got a side gig cleaning clinics, so we came up with a way to hustle. And then I got this idea for the podcast and I started throwing money into it. It's not cheap. It is
Yeah.
not cheap. But the roadblocks I had was equipment. I didn't know equipment to buy. I still don't know how to edit videos. My wife
I
does all
don't
that.
either. Like, I don't, yeah. I've never edited a single one of them.
I think what I learned though the biggest thing that I learned is bankruptcy is here to encourage risk taking so that and risk taking is encouraged because out of those risks come great rewards, and
Oh
our
yeah.
country was built on that.
Yeah, yeah. And as a guy that stood money in markets and whatever my whole life, um, yeah, so private equity, private equity comes in and there's always like trying to buy, smaller businesses. They're buying
Yeah.
businesses from anywhere from like $1 to $25 million. But like um literally their business model is okay, they're going to make 10 investments. Okay. Eight of them are going to zero. They know
Yes.
eight of them will be worthless. One of them will be okay, and the other one will pay for all 10 of them.
Yep.
And that is the model.
Eighty
And they
20.
know, yeah, they know that coming in, that, eight out of their 10 investments are going to zero.
Right.
But that's the risk taking, right? And these are some of the smartest money people in the world. Like they understand that, right? That it's really like the one big hit, but you got to go through you got to feed through all the junk to actually find the one really good one. But if you can
Yep.
find that one good one, it makes up for all the mistakes you've made.
That's right. And that actually goes with podcasting too,
Yeah, and that's
because
everything in the world. I mean, it really is. Yeah.
yes, yes. 80/20. I learned so the 80/20 rule
Mm-hmm.
I actually picked up from a former CIA agent, Andrew Bustamante. I listened to him on Julian Dory podcast, and he was talking about psychology and what CIA uses and this, that, and
Mm-hmm.
the other thing. And he's like the
Oh
eighty
yeah.
twenty rule, and out of 100% of my listeners, I'm really only actually talking to about 20% of them.
Yep.
And, the rest of it is just noise, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that idea because it's so true in like, you can use it for everything.
It
Um,
it's a very I mean, it occurs in almost any stat you can find. Like
it
I
does.
don't go to any church in the United States, and I guarantee you, within a few percentage points, 80% of the tithing comes from 20% of the people in the
Yep.
population.
Yep.
And it's
Yes.
like that. It's like that across populations of cities. Like, it's amazing that like how things, accumulate and compound and whatever, but like you can tell, statistically, like you can say, okay, New York's the biggest, population in the United States, and it's like 10
Right.
million or whatever it is. I don't know the exact numbers,
I
but
think
you
I
can
think there's
tell,
8 million people living on Manhattan Island, so I think you're somewhere
yeah,
close.
it's something like that. But like you can tell somebody the population of the biggest city in the country, and they can get very close statistically without even knowing the answer to what the second biggest city is and the third biggest city is, population standpoint. Like they'll
Yeah.
tell you what LA and whatever Houston or whoever's Chicago. Like just by knowing the population of the biggest city, you automatically know the next two
Right.
because things are almost always like distributed along those lines.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
across from the size of stars to the size of cities to everything.
And that's so cool because that kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier in the week with religion and stuff like that. It's the coolest
There's
thing.
something fundamental about all that. You know what I mean?
I man, I was just telling somebody he's going to be a deacon in his
Mm-hmm.
church, and so he's got to go through all kinds of stuff. And
Yeah.
I was just telling him, like, I'm really into space and UFOs and aliens and shit. And
Yeah.
I was
All
telling
that cool
him,
stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, you know, everything is so mathematically perfect. If the farthest you could go out in the cosmos, it's mathematically perfect.
It'd
You
be
can't
calculated.
explain that without God, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Recalculating. So when you think of Missouri
Yeah.
and financial literacy, do you have you said you grew up in Missouri, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Central
just
Missouri.
outside
Yeah.
of
Middle of
okay.
nowhere. Yeah. I grew up on the Missouri River, man.
So you
Catfishing
know
and
how
everything. Yep.
we call it country dumb, I guess. The
Yeah.
people here
I'm very much that.
the people here aren't stupid by any means. They're just not financially literate because it's not taught here.
Yeah. It's not
Like
modeled anyway.
I went through school and was never taught anything about finances past keeping a checkbook, you know. And I think they want to keep the masses. I think they want to keep 80% of us
Well,
dumb about
and
finances.
my thought on number one, obviously a massive shame that no one is taught about money, because well, guess what? It affects everybody in every single area of their life.
Yes.
So probably something you should learn. But here's the second thing: is like, who are they going to learn it from? The teachers in
Yeah.
there that make 35 grand a year and, like, you know what I mean, are struggling. Like,
I
who's
got a
teaching it
stat
to?
for you.
You know what I mean? Like, you you know, it to me, it's like hilarious. Like my alma mater, my college, like they created an entrepreneurial program, and it's taught by a bunch of college professors that have never had a business ever in their life. And I'm like, it's not like you can't learn some stuff, but like, what do you really learn? You know what I
Right.
mean?
So you're going to love this actually. So the top 5 careers for millionaires based on a large study
Yep, I know
are engineer, accountant,
teacher.
teacher, management, and attorney. And that's wild that doctor's not even on there. But
Yeah, as a guy that has a lot of MD clients, yeah, making money and being, generating income and growing your net worth are two totally different skill sets, right?
yes, yes.
I have plenty of doctor clients that are doing 7 figures, and I'm like, come on, man.
Where's where's all that money going?
Yeah,
What are
it's
you
like, come
doing
on,
with
man.
this? You gotta
Yeah,
must
come
go on a
on,
lot
man.
of vacations.
Yeah, and it's because it's not it's as much as people want to think it is, it's not an income problem. Yes, ideally you want to keep generating, growing your income, but really it's not like a lack of information. Like, you know how to grow your net worth. It's
Right,
spend less than you make and invest the difference, right? Like it's
right.
literally that simple. Now you can get into bazillions of strategies off that. But if you're not doing that, nothing else matters, right?
Yeah.
And that's that you know, the average American, here's a great stat for you. The average American spends 102% of their income.
Oh yeah.
102%.
I can't believe it's not higher.
Yeah. Well, it's like that's as far as they can get away with, right?
Yeah.
So you imagine, like, and another stat, another terrible stat to think about, and in the probably the country that has the most opportunity of anywhere. It's something like 80% of Americans can't pay an unexpected $400 bill,
Yeah,
right?
that's
You
me.
got to get new tires or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And and it's a behavioral problem. It's not like a
Yep.
lack of information. It's all psychology, right?
Yep.
It's all what you were taught. And in many ways, you got to unlearn a lot of things and learn new tactics and habits.
Well, you
And
hear millionaires bitching about like so they say stuff about like your Starbucks and your avocado toast. I think that is a way to sum up they're not being literal when they say coffee and avocado toast. They're talking about consumerism.
it's consumerism. Yeah. Yeah.
They're talking about how much you spend being a consumer. And if you stop being a consumer, you can be the person that the consumer comes to.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, stop buying things that you consume. Buy things
Yeah.
that have lasting value and appreciate, right?
Yes.
And if you
And
do
stop
that,
spending $150,000 on your car.
oh God, I don't know how many people I know that have, obviously, they'll buy a $60,000 car and have zero money in retirement, and they're 50 some years old or whatever. And
Yes.
it's like,
Yes.
what? You're priorities are just you know,
I
way
drive
off.
it.
I get it.
I drive a 20-year-old clunker. It's out in the driveway. It's got no air conditioning. It's got an oil leak. And I'm going to drive it until the wheels fall off. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get another used vehicle
Yeah.
that's probably a piece of shit that, like, because
But
so
but
I,
that's
I'm
it's doing what you want it to do. Like, you know what I
getting you
mean?
from point A to point
Yeah,
B.
yeah,
But the biggest thing is it's a depreciating asset. I
yeah.
mean, you said
It's
it.
expense. It's not an asset. It's expense.
An expense. There you go. Because I'm always paying for this damn thing, even though it's been paid off for, it's a 20-year-old car. So it's been paid off for almost 20 years. My grandparents bought it new, and then I kind of inherited it through them
Yeah.
buying another car. And I'm not too proud to drive around in a big old pile of shit car,
So let me tell
you
you
know?
this. I'll tell you a story. So I bought my first I'll call nice vehicle. I bought a new truck 2 years ago. It's the first time ever in my life I've done that. And you know, I just to be totally vulnerable and transparent here. Um, you know, I've obviously studied money my whole life since I was probably 18, and I've done made a lot of right decisions for a lot of years, right? And so I was a multimillionaire before I did that. And before that, I drove a 2014 Ford Focus with 150,000 miles on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So, that and don't get me wrong, like nice vehicles are nice, right? But like it wasn't the cost didn't bring me the equivalent amount of value,
Yeah.
right?
Nice vehicles are nice when you can afford them, you
Yeah,
know?
and like it just like same thing. We're doing some stuff in my personal life where we're really, you know, making the shift of like, you know, we built a really big, nice house and all these things, and we, you know, beautiful, amazing. Um, but it costs so much money that we're like, hey, this doesn't bring us X number of dollars of value to
Yes,
us.
you have to look at it as a store of value. Yes.
Yes. And it's like, well, we would rather give all that up so we could go do B instead of doing A, right? And
Yeah.
that's a personal, you know, judgment you need to make. It's like you need to look at your budget and be like, okay, where am I spending my dollars? Where
Yeah.
could I cut back that it's like doesn't really affect my life, right? Like there's
Yeah.
plenty of areas in your life that you could stop spending money and be like, my life is the same. All right. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, right. And it may not be that Starbucks. And maybe that Starbucks does bring you value every day. But I promise you, there's somewhere else that you're spending money that doesn't, that you could easily
Yes.
find some bucks that it's like, okay, I could get rid of this. And like, it's not like my day-to-day
I got a good
experience gets
example.
worse. Right.
I got a good example for you.
Yeah.
So I smoke a shit ton of cannabis,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's
it's
legal
Missouri,
here in
baby.
Missouri. It's
Yeah.
legal here in Missouri. I was spending $400 or $500 a month
Hmm.
on weed. And it's my medicine. I'm hopelessly addicted, and like it's legal.
Yeah.
Um, I I wasn't so keen on growing it. I didn't want to grow. I got kids, and I didn't want to be afoul of the law and this, that,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Sure.
And I got my grower's license, and I spent a ridiculous amount of money on growing stuff. Like I got like top of the line kind of crap.
Yeah.
It's
Well, you got your
it's
setup, right?
yeah, yeah. Uh, but spending, let's just say, let's take a nice round number of like $3,000 is right around where I spent what I spent on my setup. You take that money, and as long as you're producing, it pays for itself within 6, 7 months, because I won't be spending that $600 a month that I was spending on cannabis. Now I'm growing it myself, and I've shrunk those expenses from $6,000 a year to $4,000 my first year, and pretty much free my second year. The only thing I'm worried about is like my only overhead my second year will be like electric bills and seeds. That's pretty much it.
No.
And it was an investment, is
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah. And
And
that's a
so,
great tiny example of right where
yeah,
and there's things in your life, you know, listeners, you know, there's things in your life like that everywhere,
yeah,
right? Where it's like, hey, okay, this is going to cost me a little bit right now, but it sure is going to make future Peyton's life a whole lot better, right?
yes, yes. We did that with bread. We haven't bought a loaf of bread in since January. because we're making it here at home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we make some
within
nice bread at home too. Yeah.
within the first couple of tries, it was like, I'm never buying store bread again. Like, we're going to make our own bread from now on. And
Yeah, it's
because
a
it's
lot
so
healthier and
tasty.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And the same like with my Starbucks coffee. I'm a Starbucks coffee addict because I haven't found any other coffee that I like
That you
better
can
than
replace it with.
Starbucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't go buy my own coffee. I drink just plain black coffee, but we get the beans and then we grind them and make it here at home. And I've turned my $5 coffee into $1 coffee. And it's small little things like that. You probably a lot of people probably don't know how many subscription services they have. And subscription services were supposed to be like a cord cutting thing. We were supposed to get rid of cable and have one or two
Now you
subscription
spend more
services.
money on all this. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm really
And
literally
the funny
spending
thing
more.
is now they're starting to package the subscriptions back up and we're heading back to
Yes.
cable.
Cable. Exactly. Exactly. Man, I'm spending probably, gosh, I'm probably close to 250 a month on subscription services. And the big one, which is YouTube TV, it's the
No.
same as cable, but
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
have same that. Yeah, I have the same thing. I
I,
gotta have my NFL red zone, man.
yes, yeah, that's the
But that
thing.
brings the value to my life, so I'm fine spending the money.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. There you go. That there's always ways that you can trim down things to make your life more palatable. Like you haven't been on vacation in a couple of years. Man, go get you a tent and pitch it in your backyard. Take a few days off work. There's a little mini vacation where you don't have to worry about anything. I know it sucks, but it is what it is. You got to make those sacrifices to
Get
make
what you
your life
want.
more, yeah, your future
Yeah, like
self.
yeah, you got to make sacrifices today. Um, otherwise, it's like it's like putting in the work. It's like growing a business, growing a podcast. Like I said earlier, the first 5 years suck.
Yep.
Like the first 5 years, you're showing up, you're putting in the work every day, and you see nothing. You see
Yep.
no results. Right? It's like going to the gym. You go work out really hard one day. You go home and look in the mirror. Guess what? You look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Do it, do it after 3 days. Look exactly the same, right?
Yep.
But it's having the faith, right? And this is where faith is really big to continue in that process of acting until it
Yep.
finally shows up, right?
Yep. And
It's
you
what
said
people don't
acting,
understand. And
acting.
as soon as people, you go to the gym the first day, nothing shows up. You go to the gym the third day, nothing shows up, and they say, "Well, screw it, I'm done." Right? And
Yep.
you hit that
Yeah.
first wall, and you're like, "Forget it, doesn't work."
And
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 it's
I'm
just
I'm
because you didn't
totally
stay
that
there
guy
long.
too. I
Yeah.
am totally that guy too. Like I'm
And we
here.
all
Like if
are
I
in
don't
our own areas, right? Like,
I want what I want when I want it.
yeah,
And that's one of my core principles. I want what I want when I want it. And I think a lot of Americans are that way,
yeah,
actually. And it's totally acceptable. You just have to kind of figure out what you want and then go after it. A lot of
yeah,
people are too scared to go after what they want, thinking, "Oh, I can't do this because of this." Now, I am actually hamstrung here by my children, not any fault of their own. I love my kids, and I would much rather be here for them than
sure. I
anything
mean, that's
else.
what you value. I mean, that's your
Yeah,
priority, and if you thought about it and consciously made that choice, good for you. You know what I mean? Like, I
absolutely.
can't argue with that at all.
Absolutely. I'd much rather be like a rich dad, but I am rich in the fact
Yeah.
that I get to wake up every day and hang out with my damn kids, you know? Like how many millionaires are out there right now that wish they could be me, you know?
Dude, I could tell you lots of horror stories in that area. And I don't know how many horror stories of, I've worked with a lot of successful people for a long time.
Yeah.
And many stories of the business becoming the mistress, right? Like the business flat
Yeah.
out becomes the mistress, gets all your attention, and the rest of your life is a disaster.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I mean, it's not funny at all, but like, none of that money's going to buy any of that back. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. And we all end up in the same damn place when it's all
Yeah.
over. And
Yeah.
life is too short to be running around fucking miserable all the time.
Yeah, and it's, and it's also too way too damn short to care what like anybody else's expectations are for you,
Oh,
right?
keeping
Like,
up with the Joneses, man. That
yeah, and
is
so much
exactly
what
how a lot
people
of people
do
get in
from a
trouble.
financial standpoint and whatever, it's because like, oh, I'm going to buy this car not because of how it makes me feel, but how I think it's going to make other people view me. Right? And
Spending a
that's why
shit ton of
people do
money
shit.
to impress people that you don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing too. The amazing thing psychology proves this is like they're not paying attention to you anyway. And if
Right.
anything, they see you roll up in that G Wagon or that amazing car or whatever. And guess what? They're not thinking, oh, how cool of a guy that is. They're thinking in their brain, oh man, how cool would it be if I was in that car and what I would be like if I was in that car. They're not even thinking about you.
Yeah, you can apply the 80-20 rule here too. 80% of people you see driving that G-Wagon can't afford it.
Yeah, maybe higher.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, with
it
today's
is.
social
It's
climate,
just
yeah.
a cover up. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a cover up from, other insecurities or whatnot, or, that kind of thing. And of course, there are people that can, but yeah, probably more than not, are only doing it to maybe cover up from some insecurity somewhere else.
Yeah, and I'll be honest about my insecurities. I'm very, very insecure. Like uh, doing the podcast. This is a big part of the reason why I do the podcast is because it's hard. And
Puts you out of your
I,
comfort zone, man. And how
yes,
much have you grown from it? You know what I
a
mean?
lot, so much, man, so much, and it helps me with my everyday relationships with like my wife, my kids. I talk to so many people, because Bad Dad's in the name of the podcast. I talk to a lot of parenting people, a
Hmm.
lot of people that work with kids, a lot of people that do um, uh, uh, educating kids and all kinds of things, write books for kids. Um, I do all that stuff and I talk to these folks and I realize that ultimately I'm taking the lessons that I learn on the podcast and I'm putting them to use
Yeah.
in my everyday life, which is making me a better dad and it's also making me a better podcaster because I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And that's been my experience too. I learn more, you know, just being the host and being around all these amazing people in an interview. And I'm like, holy crap, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have somebody on my, podcast that's got $100 million business. And I'm like, massive,
Yes.
right? And then you're like, but then you get to know them, get to know their story, and you realize, well, that's just a guy just like anybody else. Like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? And he
And
just
that's
does, he's maybe made different decisions or whatever, but it's not like he's this like, this superhero or somebody that has this amazing natural talent. He's just a person that just kept pushing and making the right
Yeah,
decisions.
I talked to my favorite podcaster pretty early on in the podcast, within my first 50 episodes. And I maybe should have waited, but I think he gets it. I've talked to him since, but I was kind of starstruck while I was talking to him and I got nerdy on that podcast a little
Yeah, you're
bit.
like,
And
yeah,
yes, yes. And he said it in the very beginning. I'm just a guy. I am just a guy. And I think that's a big hurdle for a lot of people
it
is they
is.
get intimidated by the people that well by even the people that they have to learn from. They're intimidated.
Mhm.
And I lean into that because it makes me feel uncomfortable. And then I get sort of a high afterwards. My first podcast, when I get out of there, I was like, woo. And now we use that sound at the end of our podcast. And I was like, keep that sound and run it after every podcast because I was feeling amazing and I wanted to keep that energy, and I'm not 100% sure if she still does it, but I think she should. I loved every bit of it. And there's just something about talking to talking to folks that you get to share ideas, you get to share thoughts, and not only that, but you get to have community.
Mhm.
And this has brought me a large large community of people that I talk with every day. I talk to, I strategize with folks that I don't know. Um, and I've actually had a lot of people come to me with some advice on how to do some things for the
Better.
podcast.
Yeah. I've had
And
guests and guests are like, hey, you need to do this, do this. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. I don't know what
right,
I'm doing.
right, right. I've I've actually never had any guests do that to me, but I've had a lot of compliments from my guests,
Yeah.
which kind of reinforces how I'm feeling already
Mhm.
and gives me that confidence to keep going. Um, a lot of the a lot of the people that have asked me questions about like how I do this or how I do that, it's about quality. Like my sound quality is good and my
Yeah.
video quality is good. And I'm like, man, what I was trying to do is make it the simplest, you know, everything that I could because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Now I could probably go out and buy a $3,000 camera and know what to do with it, but I didn't even know how to run a camera when I first started this thing. We
Yeah.
didn't know how to edit anything. We didn't even know about podcast hosting. You know, do you need a podcast host? It turns out you don't. We didn't know any of that. And I find that a lot of the questions that we get are from people who are starting out that don't know these things and don't know where to find this information. And it really pissed me off when I first started and I had to pay for it. I had
Yeah.
to pay for the information. And then I find out that like the easiest way to get the information that I paid for is just to buy software and figure it out. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, what I was thinking there when you were telling me, you were telling me, hey, we didn't know how to do this, didn't know that, didn't know how to do this and that. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, you had a really long list of reasons why you should have quit, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And here's the thing, guys, like you're always going to have a really long list of reasons why you can't do whatever you say you want to do. And
Right.
and to give you kudos and credit, it's like you just did it.
Yep.
And here's the thing, it's like you don't need permission from anybody. You don't need permission to start a podcast.
Yep.
And too much of us are sitting around and thinking, well, I don't know how to do any of this, and not willing. Like you don't need to know how to do anything. You need to know how to figure out to do stuff.
That's
And
right.
and my God, the stuff that is on the internet for free on YouTube or go chat GPT, like good golly, almost everything known to man is for free on the internet.
I
So
love
like
ChatGPT. I love it.
you can literally figure out whatever the hell you need to figure out.
Exactly. And
But
I
but
use
you got to be willing
ChatGPT.
to take on a little risk to put yourself out there because you're not going to know what you're doing.
Right. Yes. Yes. And that's the key, putting yourself out there. Just the greatest single piece of advice that I've ever gotten came from my brother of all people because he's an idiot, but God love him. I and I hope he listens to this because I do love him. And he's one of those self-deprecating guys
Yeah, sure.
that he'll get a kick out of me just saying he's an idiot. I don't really think he's an idiot, but um, one of the single greatest pieces of advice that I got ever in my entire life came when I was starting this podcast. I was so pissed off because, well, that TV up on the wall. Um, I had asked my brother to hang it for me, and he hung it backwards. And I was really upset about that. And there was a multitude of other things that had happened to me that I was really upset about, and I wanted to quit.
Yeah, it's
And
all
so
stacking up on you. Yep.
I called my brother and I was like, man, I just want to quit and I needed to talk to somebody. So, you're my guy today. And he had
Mhm.
told me, he's like, brother, the only person standing in your way is you. And I took that piece of advice and I swallowed it. And it was a really hard pill to swallow because he was right. The only person that was standing in my way was me. And I'm kind of getting a little teary eyed talking
Yeah,
about
man.
it right now because I was standing in my own way and I was depending on people that I shouldn't have had I had no business depending on these people. I put so much pressure on my wife to to get this thing started. I was an asshole over a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have been. And when I heard that, I was like, you're right. I can do this. I can do this. And it's me. I'm standing in my own way. And, I'm not to get into the place where I want to be because of this person or because of this person. I'm not where I want to be because of me.
100%.
And the only person that can get me to where I want to go is me.
Yep. No one can get you there. And yeah, a couple of points out of that. I was thinking, one, it's so amazing how little encouragement people really just need. How that tiny bit of encouragement you got kept you from quitting. And
Yep.
it's sad because a lot of people don't get even that.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, man, it's just being willing to step out of your comfort zone, man. Took me a lot of years to do that. Small kid, small town kid, putting myself out there, no dad, no self-confidence. Um,
God, that self-confidence is a killer. Still have no
yeah,
self-confidence.
it took me a long time. And how do you build self-confidence? In my opinion, it's doing hard shit, doing hard shit
Yep.
every day. And when you do hard shit every day and keep pushing your boundaries, well, then you got evidence. And the reason you don't have self confidence, or I'm not speaking generally to you, but the listeners, well, the reason people don't have self confidence is because they've lied to themselves over and over again,
Yeah.
you know, and they hate themselves because of it,
Yep.
right? You've never kept a promise to yourself, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Fear kicks in and you quit, right?
Yeah, that's a
And
big one, man.
yeah,
Keeping
it's a huge
promises to
one. Yeah.
yourself.
And once you start doing that and start getting that ball rolling, man, it's amazing, man. It's all between your ears. It really is. The
It
whole game
is.
of life is a head game, man. It really is.
Yeah, and it's all bullshit. Like George Carlin said, it's all bullshit and it's bad for you. If you just look at, you got to open your eyes to a different way of thinking, in my opinion. For success to even happen, you kind of have to open yourself up for it. You have to want to accept it in. And that doesn't necessarily mean doing things that you want to do. You got to do the hard stuff, man.
There's come to a lot of
There's
stuff
been
you don't want to do.
some of my favorite podcasts, brother, are the ones that I'd want to get up to do.
Yeah.
And I come in here to the podcast studio. I'm tired, going on 4 hours of sleep because I got kids screaming in the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
room, and I'll be honest with my guest, and I'll be like, "Hey, man, I've had a rough morning, but stick with me. We'll get through this." And it ends up being my favorite podcasts, And I said earlier, what I get asked all the time, "What's your favorite podcast?" And it's always the next one, because it's the way it makes me feel when I
Yeah.
come in here. Sometimes I'm dragging my ass, just like everybody else has bad days at work. I have bad days at work too. Sometimes I'm dragging my ass, but for the most part, it's always like, let's get this going. I'm ready to go, get this
Yeah.
started. And when I come out of here, it's always that same energy. Like I feel amazing. I feel awesome to be that people even want to talk to me. I'm still very shocked about that people
Yeah.
actually
Same
want
here,
to
man.
talk to me.
That's like I'm just a nobody.
Right, right. And I think that changing that mindset and getting out, like you said, self-confidence, like that's a huge part of it. Like I have very, very little self-confidence. And it's a big problem with creators that
Hmm.
and rich people, the imposter syndrome that happens. I don't deserve this, like why are people wanting to talk to me of all people?
Now you'll reject it and push it away. I mean, people
Ex
will do
I
that
have, I
subconsciously, not
have,
even realize. Yeah.
I have done that over the last couple of years. I have actually, well, for instance, when you reached out to me,
Hmm.
I actually, with you, I didn't reach right back out
Hmm.
because I didn't get notifications or whatever. Well, something
Yeah.
was happening with my account or whatever, and I didn't get the notification. But also, when I first started, I was doing that consciously. I wasn't getting right back to people because I was so nervous, and
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I was like, okay, I got to research this person. I got to do this. And I go into like executive decision freeze. And
Yeah,
it would
yeah,
take me
yeah,
forever to get out of it. But then I was honest with myself. I was like, these are just people, you know, and if I don't want to reach back out to this person, we'll ignore that one and we'll respond to this one. And it's a whole it is a mind game. And you gotta just you gotta play it, you know? And
yeah.
doing
And
the
you got to
hard
keep,
things is
yeah.
worth it.
And you got to keep stretching, right? Like you keep stretching and stretching. And like, you know, now, like you show up and you have these podcasts and, you know, for the most, I assume for the most part, you're like comfortable. You know, I mean, you do
Oh
a good
yeah.
job, you're very comfortable. And day one, it wasn't anything like that. I'm sure you were bumbling and nervous. You know what I mean? I'm sure episode one sucks, like comparatively, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and that's what people don't understand. It's like, you know, you don't like come out of the womb and you're Michael Jordan, right? Like, you
Yes.
know, Michael Jordan did a whole lot to become Michael Jordan, right? And it's not, it's he put himself in repeatedly, you know, hard situations and just did all these things that no one else was willing to do. And
Yeah. And
that's,
that
you know,
kind of speaks to your childhood.
yeah,
You were talking
yeah,
about that
yeah,
struggle, man.
yeah,
I credit a lot of what I go through in my daily life now to the struggle I went through when I was a kid.
yeah,
For me, I got more out of it. Like I didn't know I was poor. Well,
yeah,
I thought everybody was lived like we did
yeah,
because everybody in my neighborhood was like us.
yeah,
And going through those struggles and going through those hard times gave me the intestinal fortitude to do it when I'm older and know what I'm
yeah.
doing. And like struggling doesn't suck so bad now because I'm
Yeah,
I'm
you've
pretty
been
good
there.
at it.
You've
You
been
know,
there.
I'm
You know
pretty
you can
good
go
at it.
dark, man, right? Like you can do it, right? And that's once again, oh yeah, I don't know if you know who David Goggins is. He's
I
this
love
wild,
David
like, yeah,
Goggins.
yeah. He always talks about the cookie jar, man. He's like, I got this cookie jar of evidence that anytime I'm struggling, I can reach in and be like, I ran that 100-mile race. You know what I mean? He's got all
Yeah.
the evidence in his past that shows that he can do that, right? And that's how he built self-confidence. He came from way worse situations probably me and you did if you actually get into
Yeah.
his books and stuff. And yeah, man, it's that. And you know, the amazing thing is, so I'm in, you know, a lot of networking groups and stuff with like very successful people, right? And it's amazing. I have this one tight knit like mastermind group that I'm in, and it's about a dozen of us. Every one of us has a hell of a childhood.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, you know, some of your greatest, you know, it's because we're all, you know, we all have these scars that we're trying to, you know, prove our worth and prove, you know, abandonment issues, all these things that
Yeah.
we're trying to fill whole, you know, fill this hole in us, right? Like you know, some of your biggest highest achieving people are the most insecure people in the world, right? Because that's
Yeah.
why they got to keep achieving, because they're not whole without it.
Yeah. Yeah. I once heard from a guy on the podcast. His name was Jack. I once heard from him. He said, "You have a hole in your heart in the shape of your father."
Hmm.
And that hit me hard because you know, the bearded bad dad thing. It's the greatest thing I've ever done was being a dad, and I was born to
Yeah,
do it. And I talked to the
same here.
last guy I was on a podcast with about being a dad, and a lot of that comes from the fact that I didn't have much of a dad growing up.
Yep.
You know, my mom was my mom and dad, and it was I didn't know any better. And as I'm growing up, I knew that I had to be here for my kids. And my first child, my daughter, I didn't meet her until she was 5. I knew about her, but her mom was a huge pain in the ass, and it caused some issues. And when I met her, it caused more issues. And there's a whole lot there that now we have a great relationship, but we haven't always been there. And then I have 3 boys, and I have great relationships with them. But what kept me honest in the very beginning of being a father was not having one, and
Yeah.
having to be that strength, that strong person for a lot of other people. And a couple of years ago, I was like, who's there for me? you know? And I kind of just sat back and looked around. There ain't a fucking person around for me when I need them. And that's just proof positive that I'm doing the right thing in being there for my people and not dropping that ball like that. And so that's part of the reason why I make the sacrifices that I make. I could have been a millionaire a long time ago, but the fact of the matter is, I'd much rather be with my kids. And we're all
100%.
like we've mentioned it in this podcast. We're all gonna die, man.
Yeah.
We're none of us are
No one,
getting
no
out of
one's
this
going
thing
to know who
alive.
any of us are in 100 years. We'll be erased from
Exactly.
history,
My
which
kids
that
are
can
gonna
be
know
that can
though.
be very scary to think about. That means like nothing matters, which in a long enough time frame, really it doesn't, right?
Right, right.
Because
Eventually,
eventually the
it
sun eats up the whole earth and we're gone.
exactly it
But like
explodes
at the
and
same
we're all
time,
gonna be gone.
nothing matters, but at the exact same time, everything matters
You're right.
because while in the bigger picture you say like nothing matters, but in the small picture, every single thing affects everything else.
The
It's
butterfly
all
effect.
it's all intertwined, right? And you say that story about not having a dad. Same here, man. Like my kids are my world, man. And uh we've made sacrifices to, my wife left work so she can be home, and part of the stuff we're doing personally in our own areas of, getting rid of a big house and all these things to where we can be together, vacation together all the time. And we're making all kinds of moves to where, I got 10 to 12 years left with my kids.
Yep.
We're going to make it happen.
Yep. I I'm so upset. School starts on
Yeah. Yeah. We start next
Tuesday.
week. Yeah.
School starts
It's
on
Thursday.
Tuesday for us.
Yeah.
And I am extremely, this summer did not go the way I wanted it to at all. I got into an accident a few weeks ago. It's been about a month and a half now, and we still don't have our car back.
Yeah.
And I, my 20-year-old piece of shit out in the driveway, it doesn't have air conditioning. We've been to Worlds of
A little rough
Fun.
in August.
Yes, yes, we've been to Worlds of Fun like
Yeah. I
five
went there a lot
times
as a kid. Yeah, I know it.
since. Well, I mean, it's a bitch without air conditioning because you got to go down there with no air conditioning, which isn't bad. And of course, you're hanging out in Worlds of Fun without air conditioning naturally because it's a theme park, it's an
Yeah, it's
outdoor
outdoor
park,
park. Yeah.
and so you're hot and sweaty, and then when you walk to the car, it's even you're
Yes.
hot and sweaty, and then
Water.
you get to the car, and you're like, oh shit, I got to ride home in this. And then when you walk in the house, and then you're freezing because
Yeah.
the house is cold. But yeah, we didn't get to do all the things that we wanted to do. I've spent half the summer hurt. The kids are being loud, boisterous, a pain in the butt at home. But I absolutely have loved my time with them this summer. Normally they're a huge pain in the ass like all summer long, but this summer they've both my kids that I have at home now, the older two are grown up now.
Mhm.
The two I have at home, that's been wonderful to have during the summer, and I'm so bummed that summer is over and they got to go back to school. And I remember being a kid, like summers were longer when I was a kid,
Mhm.
and it just further reinforces that I'm doing the right thing. I'm hanging out here at home doing the dad thing. And man, when we get off this podcast, you go give your wife a big old hug and tell her how much she means to you, because one of
Yeah.
the things that really upsets me in my day-to-day life is I'm lonely, man. I'm
Yeah.
very, very lonely.
Yeah, at
And
home with the kids all day. Yeah, I mean that can be, I wouldn't. I'm like I'm
well, the
not
life
sure
of
I
a
could do that.
podcaster
I
is a
don't know that I could do that, right? Like
yeah.
serious.
Yeah, the life of a podcaster is lonely too.
Yeah.
We've got this hour or two together talking and conversating together, but this is literally the only conversation I'm going to have
You
with a
want to talk
grown
to an
up.
adult for a while again after
Right,
this.
right. This is the only conversation with a grown up that I'm going to have today. Until my wife is home today,
Yeah.
but um, it's being a stay-at-home dad. It is extremely stressful because I was not prepared to do all the dad things. I wasn't prepared to do laundry from sun up to sundown. I wasn't prepared to do dishes on, every day. And doing the dad things, it is difficult, but it's the most rewarding ever because like I get to sit down when I'm wore out. Oh God, I'm so tired. And I actually get to people feel for me now. And people are like, "Oh yes, you are tired. You've been hanging out with these kids all day." And you're fucking right, I have. It's so great. But yeah, you
Yeah.
give your wife a big old hug and tell her how much she means because we don't get enough love. People don't
Yeah.
tell us how much they need us and being a stay-at-home parent, people I get lots of looks like stay-at-home dad,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's just like anti-culture or the norm, right? It's just anti-norm.
yeah. But when I tell people, yeah, I'm a stay-at-home dad, and then we talk about the podcast. Oh, I also do a podcast. And oh, you have a job then? Yeah, well, my job is being a dad.
Hmm.
That's not job number one. I'll let the podcast go if I have to, but
Yeah, sure.
being a dad's number one. That's my job, and I do get paid. I do. My wife spoils the shit out of me, as evidenced with my
Yeah, yeah,
studio.
yeah.
Um, she loves the fact that she doesn't have to do all these things that I do,
Mhm.
and people didn't realize how much they used me until I broke down
Mhm.
and I had a miniature breakdown one day, and I was telling my wife, I was like, "Man, I don't feel like anybody appreciates me. Anybody has a problem, they all come to me. Like even outside of my house, my siblings. I'm the youngest of my family. All my siblings come to me for advice, and man, I was just tired. And I told my wife, I was like, I feel like nobody appreciates me. I feel like nobody appreciates the things that I do. If anybody has a problem, they come to me and I solve
And
it
say,
for them.
yeah, they drop it at your feet or whatnot, right? Yeah.
And then when I have a problem, everybody disappears.
Yeah.
What is that? And they're like, "Well, I didn't, mean to." And I think as a guy, people just expect me to deal with the bullshit that I'm handed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge
Yeah.
problem with men.
Culturally, yeah, 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 for sure.
And I think men in particular deal with that a lot because we I have no idea why we're expected to handle so much and
Yeah, I
not
mean,
have any
it's just
support.
yeah, I mean, culturally, it's just like, you just shut up and do your thing, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of just what's expected of you. Now there's, to a degree, there's some nobility in that, right?
I don't feel
Carrying,
very noble.
yeah, but you know what I mean? Like here's the thing, you go day to day and through all these hard days and whatever. I will bet you my house that you're never going to remember those hard. You're going to look back at all of it fondly. You know what
Yes,
I mean?
yes, and
You
that's
you
the
you
thing.
will never look back at that and be like, "Oh man, that was a big struggle" or whatever. You won't even think
Yeah,
it was a struggle.
yeah, that's
When
a
you
big thing.
yeah,
I think people don't. That's a big thing that people don't look backwards and think about the good times that got them to where they are. I think that's a big thing for people in general. We don't often look at the things that we do have. We pay more attention to the things that we don't have than what we do.
100%.
I
Yep.
talk about that a lot on the podcast as well.
And
How
that's
people
just a
just,
choice.
yeah, it is a choice. And it's, it may be the right choice for some people, but it, it's pretty much the wrong choice for most people because man, it's so easy to slip into the
Pessimistic, the
yes, yes, and not care about anything. But if you look at the things that we do have here in the United States, even our poor people live good lives.
yeah, top
Um,
1% in the world.
yes, yes, and the homeless people, like you could go down the street and see a homeless person, and feel bad for them. I do
Oh,
feel bad
sure.
for
Yeah,
homeless
yeah,
people,
yeah.
but those homeless people are doing 10 times better than rich people in China, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and they're not literally dying of starvation or lack
Right,
of water or you know what I
right,
mean? Like
right.
there's I mean, now there could be some exception to this, don't get me wrong, but like people in the United States are not dying of starvation. Like
Right.
zero.
It's
And I
pretty
know
obvious. We're the
they're
fattest
right.
country ever.
Yeah, we got quite the opposite problem, right?
And
So
ladies and gentlemen, I can say that because I'm a big person. So,
and so like it is, you go back to, looking at good things or bad things. Like you can look around you right now, wherever you're at, and find all kinds of things to be upset about and
yeah.
justifiably, right? At the exact same time, you can look around and find unlimited things to be grateful for.
Yeah. You can find more things to be grateful for than to be pissed
And
off at.
both are true.
Yep.
And it all comes down to what do you want to focus on? And it's a choice.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to focus, we all get pulled into that negative crap and mindset and makes us feel like shit and all those things, right? Um, the only way I know how to build a habit around that is, I have tried, I have built a habit around of writing down stuff I'm grateful for, right? And
Yeah.
doing that as a daily habit. And there's nothing like magical about that other than training my brain to always be looking for that, right?
Yes. Yes.
And and you get into the world of habit creation and all these kind of things. Yeah, you need to trick your brain to do that. And it
Yes.
really is like we all like to think we're these like independent decision making beings. No, we're all animals. We're all subject to biology.
I
And
love that. We're all animals. That is so true.
our brains, they our brains are designed for us to survive. They don't care about anything else but
Yep.
surviving. So
Yep.
they will do all kinds of things that, the number one priority is survive, but that's not necessarily helping you advance towards your goals or whatever you're trying to accomplish, right? In
Right.
today's world. So it's something that's really unlocked for me in the last, my 5, 6, 7 years of really studying is understanding the human brain and psychology and
It's kind of a
habits and
hack, isn't it? It's a
yeah,
hack.
habits. We are all just on autopilot all day long, and nobody even realizes it. And if you
Ah,
go to
man.
Google right now, you go to Google and search how much of your daily actions are conscious.
Yes.
5%.
Yes.
5% of what you do all day long, you made a decision consciously to do. The rest is habits running in the background.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. I would not, I would think it's,
The other way
uh,
around.
I would, it feels that way
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes.
oh
It
yeah, we all
certainly
think
feels
we're
that way.
these amazing like, oh, we're making all these decisions. We're not. You're
Right.
repeating habits that you've learned, that your parents taught you, and you have no freaking clue.
I've
And
got a
it's
good
amazing
one.
when you talk about CIA and FBI and all those types
Yep.
of
Yeah.
people. You talk to those guys and be like, oh yeah, humans are laughably predictable. They
Yes.
are
Yes, they are.
100% predictable because they're
Yes.
just habits running over and over again. You know
And
exactly what they're up to.
it's a very good hack to use, especially in business, in
Oh yeah, huge.
entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
in psychology is in sales. It's a huge thing.
Massive.
Um, for me, I don't. I have ADHD really bad, and I've been recently diagnosed with autism.
Mhm.
So I say recently, it was actually this year that I was
Wow.
diagnosed with autism. So
Mm.
um, I do these little hacks. I set myself up for little dopamine hits throughout
Yep.
the day.
Yep.
And it's a habit that I started not too long ago just to make it through my day. And because I'm sometimes I get in these moods where I'm just unhappy and um anxious and just
Yeah.
not
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just
not
having a
doing
bad
very
day
good.
or what? Yeah.
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 So I set myself up from the very beginning of the day for these little dopamine hits. I start my day with the coffee, and I'll go outside and I'll have a couple cigarettes. I'll come back inside, and then starts the dopamine. I'll set myself up for little wins throughout the
Mhm.
day. I'll start in the kitchen and I'll start a load of laundry, and when that's done, that's my little dopamine hit. And then I'll get a
Accomplish
little
something. Yay. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. I'll get something else going, and there's my little dopamine hit, and then I'm looking forward to lunch. And so, you know, preparing and getting that all ready to go. There's my dopamine. And that's how I get through my day. That's how I get
Well, it's little
a lot of
carrots out
things
there
done.
for you to chase, right?
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
amazing. Like if we have something to chase, we'll just be happy as hell. You know,
Yes.
like we
Yes.
really
And
are.
so
Like
you could trick yourself into doing those things.
and oh, as it Tony Robbins says, like uh, happiness is progress. That is what happiness is. You talk about the
Yes.
journey is, is the destination.
Yep.
That's like, and because when you hit the destination, it's actually really unsatisfying. And the brain
Yeah.
science now tells you that like the dopamine hit is really in the journey. It's not like it doesn't peak when you like cross the finish line or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's why people like astronauts or whatever had these huge events, right? They'll come back down and just depressed out of their mind because
Yep.
they like there's nothing
What's
left.
next?
Yeah, there's nothing next, right? And that's when you get you get into, obviously mental illness and all kinds of stuff, depression, all those types of things. It's because we don't have, you got to have something to chase.
Right.
And as long as
Yes.
you got something to keep chasing, man, you'll just be happy as hell.
Yeah. And for me, I've got, I have this dream. I would like to end up in the mountains, um, living off the
Well, you don't have
land.
to leave the state, man. We ain't got no
Yeah.
mountains here.
Actually, we do. We do. We have the
I thought we didn't have
Ozarks.
any technical mountain. Like I think those are like technically hills. They're not quite tall enough.
I actually Googled it,
Okay.
and there is mountains in Missouri.
Okay. My
They're
geography teacher
considered
from high
mountains.
school lied to me.
I think I let me. I'm just double checking this. I'm Googling it now.
It's always been in my head that we didn't, and maybe I've just been, misinformed.
Yes, Missouri does have mountains, primarily within the Ozark Mountains range.
So it's way
And
south, right around
the
Arkansas
Oz,
or something, right?
yeah, southern Missouri, and it extends into Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. So south, it'd be southwest or southwest, southeast. I think that that whole southern quadrant down there has got
Yeah.
some out. And I've never spent any time there. I'd like to end up in Tennessee is where I
Yeah.
really want to end
Got
up.
a brother-in-law out there in, Pigeon Forge, that, Dollywood, all that area
Really?
out there, Smoky Mountains. Yep.
Pigeon
Yep.
Forge is one of my favorite places to go. I
Yep.
fell in love with that state. My sister lives down there, near Nashville,
Hmm.
and I went down there for a vacation, and everything was so green, and I was like, I love it here. And then we ended up in Pigeon Forge
Yep.
in the mountains,
Yeah, in the
and
Smokies.
I never wanted to leave. When I left there, I had tears streaming down my face and hugging my
Got that
sister,
mountain
and
vibe though, man. Like you're like,
yes.
I could just see you in a cabin drinking coffee and you'll just be happy as can be, right?
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely, and I can attribute that to my rough upbringing because I didn't know we were poor. Like, and we had to do things to survive, man. I tell people this all the time. If we didn't shoot it, grow it, or if we didn't grow it, shoot it, or catch it, we didn't eat.
Mm.
And of course, we had all kinds of government assistance. You know, we had food stamps, we had, we had Medicaid and all that good stuff, but it wasn't enough. And we had to
Yeah.
supplement
Yeah,
ourselves.
there's always a hole with all that stuff. Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. And so we struggled quite a bit. And now, as I get older, the consumerism part of life for me is pretty much over.
Yeah, you
I
kind of
don't,
opted out of that, which is a big benefit, or you know what I mean? You never really got
yeah.
totally sucked into a lot of that stuff,
I
right?
know, but I did. I did.
Okay.
That's the thing. I did get sucked into it. Like, man, not even 10 years ago, I was talking about, oh, I got to have the nicest, biggest TV. And
Mm.
I bought a brand new vehicle in 2012. I couldn't afford it. I was just tired of buying
They'll
piece of
give it
shit
to you though.
cars.
They'll give it to
It,
you all day long, won't they?
yes, they will. Yes, they will. And my payment was $600 a month.
In
And
2012. Yeah,
that was 2012. And
that's a lot of money.
we could afford it, kinda. Like we told ourselves we could afford it, but the fact of the matter is, we were, living paycheck to paycheck, and we could not afford a $600 expense every month. And that's generally how the average American lives their lives. They think they can afford things. They think they can afford $600 a month because they have that $600 a month. But what they don't understand is once they buy that vehicle and it's got a $600 a month payment, they don't have that $600 a month anymore. It's
Yeah.
going to a car payment, and this vehicle is now, as soon as you drive it off the lot, it's lost $5,000 of its value
Yeah,
at
you're stuck.
least.
You're stuck in it. Yeah.
Yes,
As soon as
yes.
you buy
And
it, you're stuck in it. All right.
that's right. Unless you pay cash,
Yeah.
and if you pay cash, it's generally because you've made the conscious decision, I have to have a vehicle. I'm going to go buy cash, or go buy it with cash. And I was that guy, man. I was buying movies all the time, those physical CDs. And
Yeah.
the only thing that from back then that I still have that was a good investment was my wife and I's jewelry. And we bought a lot of expensive jewelry, but we bought it with the idea that it was a store value and it's for our kids. And I'm never going to sell my wedding ring. I know I'm never going to sell my wedding ring. So what better to pass down to the kids than, something that's valuable? And that's what we thought when we were buying it. I do have some autograph collectibles that were a stupid investment that an
You can get
investment.
some of those up in St. Joe, right? They're up there right now, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Actually,
Actually, that hat back there, you see that hat?
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
came from training camp this
Yep.
year, and it's got Xavier Worthy on it.
Yep.
And so I'm
I was
it's
up there. I was up there in 2014. I got a football with a bunch of names you'll know. Yeah, for sure.
so yeah, that's actually how we got that. But a big chunk of my autograph memorabilia collection is like certified.
Okay.
So
Sure.
like right over here I have an autograph picture of Patrick Mahomes. That's pretty big deal to me. It's it was an investment at the time that I bought it, and I did not realize how difficult these things were to unload because I've tried to sell the collectibles that I have and nobody wants them. Nobody wants that's a very difficult thing to run into is I wanted these things and
Mhm.
I paid this exorbitant amount of money for these things. And now I bought them for a store of value and I'm trying to get rid of them and nobody wants them. What the hell? Why doesn't anybody want them?
Yeah.
And it's a big game, is what it is. It's a big game for people to make money on, for suckers like me to
Yeah, that
buy this
stuff's
stuff.
everywhere. Diamond, Patrick Mahomes signs probably 10,
Oh
15,000
yeah.
things a year. You know what I mean? He signs
Oh yeah.
20 things a day, or whatever, right? Like, so it's yeah, yeah. And for us, as a fan, like it's cool. It's all get out, man. I got,
Right.
tons of memorabilia like that. And, I work with a lot of people at the university. I got tons and tons of Mizzou stuff, all that
Yes.
kind of stuff, right? And
And I'm
it's
actually glad that it didn't sell because I was one of those emergency things. I needed the money and I'm
yeah.
really glad that nobody bought my shit because
Yeah.
I didn't want to get rid of it. I needed the money.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And yeah, that's just being careful of like, okay, what are you actually buying? What's the market going to be like? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yada yada yada, right? And like, like I said, I work closely with a lot of athletes here at Mizzou, and I mean, there's guys always lined up, with all their stuff to get autographed, and you're like, okay, all those guys are like dealers and trying, you know what I mean, just
Yes.
flip all this stuff, and they're pushing, 10-year-old little boys out of the way to get their stuff autographed.
I've seen it. I've been there
I've seen it.
when
You go to any stadium ever and get there early, and you'll see it.
yes, and there's been movies and all kinds of stuff that poke fun at that, but I think I do think it's kind of funny. Even when I see it live, I'm like, look at that. That kid just got pushed.
Yeah,
And
by a 45-year-old man.
right. And I'm just so glad it wasn't my kid,
Oh
because then
yeah,
I
you
then
might have to
Papa
lose your
Bear.
mind a little bit.
Yes, and I mean it is exactly what it look. It
Yeah,
would be losing my mind. I go full Papa Bear. I don't care who's there.
yeah,
You could be the president of the United States. I do not care. I will go full Papa Bear. And when
yeah.
when it happens, It's not pretty.
Not pretty.
Yeah, I've got so the
You're like one
school
of those
district.
bears out on the Smoky Mountain out there, man.
Yeah, the school district knows who I am.
It's like
We've
yeah,
met.
they see me rolling the parking lot.
Well, that's actually they have cameras now, and
Yeah.
that oh, here comes Mr. Fulton. Yep, yep, that's
Everybody
me.
run. I'm not
Y-
available.
And it's actually it's not bad though. I have a great relationship with the teachers and the administrators here at the school district. But sometimes when I have to, there's no bigger advocate for your kids than yourself.
No, 100%.
And if you don't stand up for your children and be their advocate, there's not anybody out there that's going to do it for them. And you have to show them, stand up. This is America. You have rights. Stand up. And if anybody's if it's the wrong thing, well, at least you went out like a fighter, you know?
Yeah, and yeah, and I think that message, it's big for, maybe even people like me and you, or that didn't have father figures or whatnot, right? Like of, low self-confidence and yeah, just
You can
take
go
control, man.
overboard with it though.
Oh my
And
gosh, yes, yes. And often you see people go overboard with it all the time. So
and that's actually why me and the school district have a good relationship is because I've gone full Papa Bear and then apologized.
yeah, yeah. You're
How
like,
it
that wasn't
works
appropriate. I should have done that. Yeah.
exactly. How it works is I let them know like, hey, I'm my child's biggest advocate. However, like I was a troublemaker when I was growing up. It was a big thing for me. I was always in trouble, always fighting in school, and my older my oldest boy had some difficulties growing up in school and stuff. And when I'd get the call from the school, it was always I would always take their um, I would always I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I would always take their word, and their word would have more weight than the kid. I wouldn't unnecessarily. I'd always give the school the benefit of the doubt.
Sure. Yeah.
I would not just blindly defend my kid because when I get that phone call, I know that they are going to try to make him look as bad as possible. And he's going to try to make himself look as good as possible.
The
So
answer's in
somewhere in the
between
middle there,
somewhere. Yeah.
you're right. There's his side, there's her side, and somewhere in the middle there's the
The
truth.
truth somewhere in the middle.
Right. So I always give the district or the schools the benefit of the doubt, the teachers, because I was that asshole kid,
Yeah.
and I remember that, and so that's what they appreciate about me is I do go full on Papa Bear, but it's contained to reasonable levels. Don't mess with my kid kind of thing. But I also am there for the school and the administrators.
Yeah.
I don't just
Yeah.
drop my kid off and expect them to be a babysitter like a lot of parents do.
There's a huge
I
population that does that. Yeah.
Yes, and that's exactly what's wrong with our
And
kids.
yeah, and that's why, a lot of the school districts are a mess too, is because also you'll have unreasonable parents where it's just like they only believe their kid or whatever, right?
That's
Like, and
yes,
their kid's a little shithead, comes home, says someone's being mean to me, and they go in there and
right.
blow up the whole thing, and they're like, actually, you're misreading the whole situation, sir. That's not what
Yes,
happened at all. That
yes,
kind of thing, right? And
yeah,
and
and that's
and
actually never
teachers don't
happened to
get
me.
and teachers don't get support from parents or whatever,
Right,
right? Like, the parents dog the teachers all the time. And it's like, well, like, how is this going to work? You're teaching your kid to disrespect all these people. And like,
exactly.
yeah, it's like you're undermining yourself.
Yeah, and that there that goes back to a saying that I've heard my whole life. Respect is earned. I
Yeah.
hate that. I do not like that. Um, Respect is not earned. I say respect should always be given until
It should.
there's a reason not to,
Yeah. Yeah.
until
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
reason to have disrespect. I always think like disrespect is earned.
Very well. Yeah.
Loyalty is earned, friendship is earned. all those things are earned, but respect is something that we should have for everybody until it's
Well,
not earned.
yeah, and I'm right there with you. You know, like generally in every area of my life, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah.
Because amazingly enough, when I don't, I come in there and stick my foot in my mouth and assume I know something about what occurred. I'm like, oh shit, guess who looks like a stupid person now?
Right,
And
right,
it's me, right? So it's like it's always being cautioned because anytime you come into a situation like that and you don't give the benefit of the doubt, there's probably a piece of information you don't know. So
right.
make sure you know all the information before you come in swinging about something, right? But of course, all that's hard to do because you think you're protecting your kid or you're doing whatever, right? You think you're doing what's in everybody's best interest, but often when it's so emotional like that, almost certainly you're going to regret something that you did.
Right. Right. Well, Peyton, we've been in here almost 2 hours. I got another question for you, and then
Yeah, man.
I'll let you get going. How did you get into podcasting? What made you start podcasting?
Um, Being around great people. When I say I got into a business networking group, I have a friend that man, he's done 700 episodes at this point. And once again, it was exposing myself to people like that. And I'm like, he's a normal guy, he's doing it. Why can't I do it? Right.
Right.
And I was like, that's cool, and here's a really good point for the listeners. It's like if you see something in somebody that I would say jealous or envy,
Use it as
words.
fuel.
Yeah, well, like if you see somebody and you feel like, oh man, I'm kind of jealous of that,
Yeah.
understand that they have something that you want, right? And that's how you can find like maybe what you're looking for, right? Now, we're not going to be destructive and try to tear those people down, but realize you can find what maybe fills you up, right?
Yeah.
And I was around amazing people doing it, and they encouraged me. And man, I guess I was just bold enough to start doing it. And I did it, and I was smart enough, knowing enough in business and stuff that I built people and some systems around it, knowing
Yeah.
that I got so much crap going on that if I don't build a system around this, I'm not going to be able to keep doing it, right?
Yes.
Because what is 99% of podcasts are like make 3 episodes and are gone, right? The,
Yes.
the stat, if you want to be a top 1% podcast that's ever been released, make 20 episodes in your top 1% of all time. And that's
Hell
all it
yeah.
takes. That's literally all it takes.
We're in the top 1%.
Yeah, we are together. Woohoo. Right.
Hell yes.
But it
Yes.
really is. It's exposure to people doing it and realizing like I want that, right? And I can do that. And for me, for a lot of reasons, right? I have my own business and the podcast is great as a marketing funnel. I get to network and meet a lot of great people and those people become advocates of mine or clients of mine or whatnot. And it's not like I'm, directly trying to pull in, the guest. We're
Right.
really just sharing good information with zero expectations and trying to meet good people. And, whatever happens, happens.
That's right. That's right, man. I love every bit of that. You touched on something that's very near and dear to my heart, and that's that use and jealousy.
Yep.
Man, I was just saying this morning I was jealous of something. I can't remember what it was, but it was a great example of how that happens. My buddy Lindley, shout out to Lindley. He's a big part of the reason why I have my autographed memorabilia collection is because he got an NFL helmet and had an autograph on it. And I was like, man, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. And he said, oh, you can have that too. You just gotta go get it. And I'm like, well, I know. And I use that as fuel to start my own little collection. And, like I'm not like the jealous type of person. Like, I dislike it when people tear other people down for
Yeah,
no
yeah,
other
yeah.
reason
Like,
than jealous, especially friends and family. Now, I've heard a ton of people with their friends and family, get excited about something, and then inevitably somebody will say something like, "Oh, you're gonna fuck that up. Don't do that," inevitably that'll get into people's heads, man.
That's their own insecurities, by the way.
Yes, yes. Well, that 2012 car that I bought, the one of the first comments that I got from somebody, and the reason why I paid that fucking thing off is because somebody told me I was going to lose it. And I lost my job 6 months later. I haven't had a quote unquote real job since then. And it was like 6 months after we bought a brand new car. And I did everything I could to not lose that car. And I totaled it within 6 months of paying it off. And so I was like, oh, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I got a nice kick to the teeth.
right, right. And oddly enough, it was my brother-in-law that said it to me. So it was somebody really close to me.
And honestly, it's uh, what I would put out there is most of the time, the people when they say that they don't have bad intentions, right?
Yep.
They're literally like, you might get advice from your mom or whatever, and she's like, oh, I'm not sure you can do that. And she's not trying to keep you or hold you back, is because she legitimately is like trying to protect you, right?
Right.
But once again, it goes back to like, don't take advice. Your mother may be amazing. But if your mother hasn't ran, like in my case, a big CPA firm, maybe I shouldn't be taking advice from her on how to run a CPA firm, right? So it's
Right.
like being very careful of like, okay, not all advice is created equal, right? You need to consider the sources, because while your
It's like
mom's
taking
trying.
marriage advice from serial divorcees.
Yeah, yeah. Or I've even heard this before in my past where someone's like, "Hey, we don't need premarital counseling. I've already done this 3 times."
Yeah. Well, it didn't
And I'm
stick.
like, "Boo." I'm
Yeah,
like, you're taking you with you to the fourth one, right?
the thing, man, I've been through court mandated parenting classes that
Yeah.
are nobody should have to take those, but I didn't. I came out of there with negatives. Like, you shouldn't do that as a parent. Are you kidding? And people look at me like, well, what do you know? And now I can say, well, I've got a lot of parenting experience. I've got kids ranging in ages from 22 years old. My youngest is 6. And wouldn't you know it, I'm starting to have grandkids now. And
Mhm.
so my grandkids, my youngest kid, they're going to grow up together. And it's great. And people ask me, how do you feel about that? And I'm like, I love it. I absolutely love it. Kids are the greatest thing ever. Now, they piss me off, and I'm
Oh yeah.
not the most
It's
patient
a
person.
challenge every single day.
Yes, I'm not the most patient person, but I love everything about like teaching kids things. And I tell you what happens a lot with my kids that I really love seeing is I love seeing that light bulb moment. I love seeing that part when they figure shit out, when they're like, oh yeah, I got it. And I love seeing that. And I see it every day from my youngest. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And
I
now
got
my
I got a boy. I got a boy that's about to turn 6 myself. So I got a
really,
boy
yeah. So
the
you
same
know
age.
all
Yeah.
about that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so how many kids do you have?
I got three. I got a 9-year-old girl, 8-year-old girl, and well, he'll be 6 here in a couple months. 5-year-old boy. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's
Yeah, and
man,
man, like,
that's the years there.
yeah. So we're in the middle of all of it, and really, my goal is, as a dad, um, is just to give my kids everything I didn't have, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially from a father figure, right? And just trying to speak confidence into my kid every single day, because that's what I didn't have, and
Yeah.
build
And
them up. That's my favorite thing.
tell them you love them.
Yeah.
That's something I hear all the time from,
I probably say it 100 times a day to each one of my kids. I mean, that's probably,
yeah, me
I
too. I wear them out on it. I wear them out on it. And I tell them, you know, I tell my kids that, so when I'm on the phone, when I'm getting off the phone, regardless of which kid I'm talking to, siblings, my wife, when I hang up the phone, it's always I love you, because, or when they leave the house, it's I love you, because you never know when if you're going to have that time to do that again. And
Sometime it's going to be the last time.
that's right. That's man, you just got me. Because that's true. One of these times it's going
What
to be the
one
last
time it
time.
will be the last time.
That's right. And if I could share anything with the audience out there, man, just hug your people and keep them close to you and tell them you love them and open up your heart to the same thing and allow them to love you. And there's no greater, I love love. There's no greater feeling in the world than
Best. I mean,
love.
that's what it's all about. I mean, that's everything. It really
And
is.
people see like the big gruff exterior, the beard and everything. Man, I'm a big softy. Like I've come to
Mhm.
tears like 3 times during this podcast
Yeah,
alone.
me too.
And it's so people see this big gruff exterior and they're like, "Oh, that's a tough guy." And like, yeah, I am tough. Like I'm one of the toughest
I
people
need
that
to
I
be.
know. I'm one of the toughest people I know as far as like pain tolerance, but I'm also one of the softest people I know. I don't hesitate. I'll cry in public. Like it's a podcast. I've cried several times on the podcast. One podcast in particular, I cried all the way through, and it was one of those. It was one of my favorites. Um, it, it,
I find myself doing it more and more now,
Let
honestly.
it out, man. It's because it makes you human, Like, and people need to understand
Everybody
that,
wants something real, authentic. You know what I mean? Be yourself. Go.
right? And if you can't be yourself, there's no point because like at that point you're just faking and
Just
there
hiding.
there is some strategy to fake it till you make it, but it's not that kind of strategy, you don't want to
Yeah.
fake this until
And,
you
and
make
and
it.
and the fate of the mega strategy is more like, okay, you need to believe you are this. You know what I mean? Like to start acting like that. It's not like
Yeah, people took
not
it serious,
necessarily.
and that's exactly how we end up like with the FAA problem that we have right now. Fake it
Oh
till you make it.
yeah,
Yeah,
and you
there's
get I mean you get so many people. I mean that's when you talk about coaches and BS on the internet. I mean like what is all that? I mean there's so much. Yeah, there's so many people standing in front of rented planes and rented cars, acting like it's their own to try to,
yes.
hey, come work with me. It's just it's all smoke
And
and mirrors. It's BS.
like rappers do it. Like people that are already famous will they'll take pictures that are already on the internet of like private planes, and then somebody will call them out because
Like,
they
hey,
were
that's my plane.
like, I was really on the plane with you and you were in coach.
Yes.
And it's so funny when that stuff
And it's
happens
like, well,
because
and
I'm
what
the
it is, it's insecurities, and you don't need to do that. You're enough
And I'm,
without
yeah,
it.
because I'm one of those type of guys that would be like, here I am in coach, well, with all these
It's like,
people. And,
like
and
look at all these fancy people up there.
yes, coach would be a big old party, like especially if I was like, if I had money,
Mhm.
and people like recognized me, I'd be like, round of drinks for everybody on the plane. And I would just make a big party out of it. And of course, I understand like people want their privacy, people need their privacy, but like you're on a plane. And so I'm one of those type of guys that would never do something like that, but I would be the anti that. I would do the complete opposite of all of that and just let people know that, hey, this is what's really going on behind the scenes here. Like I've shown people before we had this studio completed, we had a partial wall that it was like a movie set, kind of like
Mhm.
a you've seen news stations and stuff, how
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have a
Mhm.
partial set just where you can see on camera.
Yeah.
That's what our studio was like. We had just a frame built that had some sheetrock on it. That TV was hanging up,
Yeah,
curtains and all
see what it
that.
looked like. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. But now what you're seeing with the studio, this is actually what's in here. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is like the paint over there on the wall looks a different color than what it is. It's actually a dark gray, but it has more to do with the yellow light that I have pointed at my face
Yep.
so that people can see my eyes through my glasses. So what you see is real, but we used to have a set, and I forget where I was going with that, but people all the time want to they want to show their they want to show that they are more than what they are because they are that jealous person, because they wish they had this, they wish they had the private plane, or
Because
they
they're
wish
not
they
enough inside.
not enough for themselves, but
Yeah, 100%.
they are enough for everyone that they know.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's all inside, man. And it's yeah, it's we all got like a God-sized hole in our hearts and we're all just trying to fill it with something. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
And that's the human condition, man.
The human condition. I think that's a great place to leave this conversation. Peyton, where can people find you at?
Yeah, if you ever talk to me about the money side of stuff, it's squirestaxplanning.com. That's where, I kind of do wealth and tax stuff. On the entrepreneurship mindset type stuff, it's just paydensquires.com. There you can find my podcast, Behind Their Success. We're always sharing tips about mindset and, entrepreneurship, habit hacking type stuff, all that cool stuff. I'm into that kind of stuff. So, it's paydensquires.com for the personal side podcast and Squires Tax Planning.com for business stuff.
Awesome, man. We'll link all that stuff in the description down below, guys. Check him out. Anyway, we'll Peyton, you hang out with me for just a minute. We'll let these guys go. And till next time, guys, we'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye.